All right, there's a lot of big clean tech news as always this week. There's a number of stories that we could talk about. BYD's continued sales rise, sales increase. It's had another uh, huge bumper month in May, with sales increasing year over year strongly, including especially the commercial vehicle sector. Xpeng sales up an enormous amount year over year. We have a number of new models released. On the solar side, we've got the Solar Energy Industries Association in the United States has put out a really good analysis on how, unfortunately, the reconciliation bill working its way through Congress will just bomb or demolish the U.S. solar industry, solar jobs, over 300,000 solar jobs at risk if this is passed as is. There's not a lot of hope for it because it's a Republican-controlled Congress and White House, but the solar policies, that were put in place, actually many of them years ago, but more so or renewed or reinforced under the Biden administration, are benefiting red states, Republican-dominated districts and states more than blue ones. So it is very counterproductive to the constituents of Republican politicians to actually demolish these solar policies, solar incentives. But this is the situation right now as the current big beautiful bill makes its way through Congress. But the story of the week really has to be the breakdown between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and we could just talk about that alone. But we've done that in our articles. Others are doing that, and plenty of people are doing that. I wanted to set aside time to just focus this video on something I've written about once or twice before, but I think it's just really important to kind of give this broader perspective and context, and especially this week, and especially like looking to where we go from here. So the context is I've been covering Tesla obsessively for 13 years since the Model S was released in 2012. We covered the company when almost nobody believed in it. I shouldn't say almost nobody. There was a big cohort, strong, futuristic, visionary people, often concerned about the climate, but also just into tech and just seeing the potential of tech in electric vehicles and in Tesla, who saw the potential of the company and saw what it was doing, saw its vision, and said, this is going to work, this is going to work, this is going to succeed, people are going to love this. And most of the broader industry, or most of the financial sector for sure, most of the automotive sector, thought it was not going to work, thought it was going to fail, diminished and made fun of Tesla for years, and eventually started demonizing them a little bit when they got a little more successful. But anyway, we covered what was an extreme success story for a decade. We covered it objectively, but also as supporters, as fans of what it was doing, what it represented, and we stood out from the crowd. There's so many instances. I mean, just as sort of one extreme example I haven't talked about much is Tesla almost recruited me to run Tesla's blog alongside Elon Musk in Tesla headquarters. They reached out. They went through a series of interviews. At the end of it all, they decided I was more useful in my role running Clean Technica to them, which definitely has, in retrospect, pros and cons. I would have obviously made a lot more money if I'd gone over to Tesla, but who knows where I would have ended up in the midst of what's been going on lately. But I do think I would have been able to provide like some sensible perspective, context, guidance, and probably it's just a little bit arrogant of me to think I could have made a difference, but I do hope I could have. But it ended up I didn't work for Tesla. I never did. And what they loved, though, is that we covered the positive Tesla story as it was for a decade very accurately and effectively, when a lot of other people didn't.
Hey, EV drivers, how much could you be saving on charging? Enter your zip code at ev.energy/join to find the best deals and utility programs near you. Sign up, connect your EV, and let EV Energy handle the rest, helping you save money and even earn cash incentives where available. Smarter charging, lower costs, and a smaller carbon footprint. What are you waiting for? Start earning today with EV Energy.
Now, when Tesla became profitable, a lot changed. No longer did Elon Musk have to kind of temper his, I would say, worst tendencies or his crazier ideas to much of anyone, because basically they were profitable. They were going to be profitable indefinitely, and no one was going to tear that down. So who do you have to answer to? You can do what you want. Also, on the stock, on the coverage of the company, or not even coverage, the social media around the company, more and more the social media was not one of people supporting a company against the odds, having vision, going against the grain. More and more it was people who just jumped into the stock to make a lot of money, and all they really cared about is making money. And all they care about today is making money. And it's all about making money on Tesla. It's not about the original vision of the company. And it's also not even about objectively seeing where the company is and where it's going, from my perspective. And this is what I want to get to here is we covered Tesla as a very positive, pro-growth, clean tech story for more than 10 years because it was. Now, in the past few years, there have been a lot of signs that Tesla's facing challenges with consumer demand. A lot of critiques of how it's rolling out new models or not, how much of focus goes and how much money and focus goes to AI for full self-driving and robots versus growing its automotive brand into a bigger force in the market versus diversifying and competing in the most competitive markets in China and Europe. And some people just have seen that as just hating on Tesla or not understanding Tesla. From my perspective, we're objectively trying to understand what's happening at Tesla, and we're objectively trying to understand where that leads. And many people are very upset with what Elon has done politically. But that can actually, to some degree, be separated from the fact that Tesla has broader challenges. So I definitely think one of the biggest challenges Tesla faces is how it's become politicized. And this week, the big problem is not only has Elon Musk turned off many people on the left to buying a Tesla, now he's in a fight with Donald Trump. And there's a high likelihood that he ends up being cast as a villain by Donald Trump, and many of Trump's, cultish followers swear off ever buying a Tesla. In which case, you're burning two bridges, which is it's bad enough to burn one bridge. To burn two is not a great sign for a company trying to sell millions of vehicles a year. So that's one issue, but there are broader just issues in terms of vehicle diversification, innovation, updates, and competitiveness on a fast-growing, hyper-competitive market. And I think people who are concerned about just subjective hating on Elon perspectives, like we covered the Tesla short sellers for years. We covered Tesla Q. Their arguments generally didn't make sense. So we critiqued them, criticized them, made fun of them even, and we were proven right. But 2025 is not 2015. Just because the critics were wrong 10 years ago doesn't mean critics are wrong today or are biased by something like fossil fuels or financial perspectives today. Like, one story is not always the same. A story isn't always a story of rising popularity, rising stock, rising sales. Like, it's important to recognize that a company that was once a leader and once had a rapid growth rate can shift in the wrong direction, in the other direction. And I think just if you just look objectively, if you just try to step out and not be either a fanboy or a hater, Tesla was supposed to grow at 50% a year this decade on average. Not every year, but on average. Sales declined last year. That's not even close to 50% growth rate. This year, they're down even more. Now, there are explanations for that, but there have been explanations getting pushed out for a year and a half. And when you bring up anything, like there was the hype that there were over 1 million reservations for the Cybertruck, that's going to solve the problem. And when you bring up these are $100 refundable reservations, a lot of people are not going to commit, keep. You're just being a hater. You're not being, you're just hating on Tesla. No, you're looking at the facts and looking at the situation and trying to have a realistic take on what the company is and where it's going. And I think, if you're honest, you can't look at the past couple of years of Tesla's story and say this has been a positive growth story. Now, there's a lot of people who are just banking on full self-driving becoming mass market robotaxis. That's really a whole nother video that I should spend an hour on, because there are a lot of topics, pro and con, to discuss with that topic objectively. Not being a fanboy, not being a hater, but just looking objectively at what is working, what has promise, and what doesn't. But overall, I think you have to look today at Tesla's declining sales. There's not really any signs of a great sales bump after the release of the new Juniper Model Y, which is concerning at this stage because we should see signs of it by now. Like, it can't just be production ramp up and logistics issues that are still keeping sales down. It feels like this is too long to wait for a big sales bump. But we'll give it another month, see if there's any announcements or statements made about production ramp up or logistics. But at the moment, it's looking like a major concern for Tesla because there's not a huge sales bump showing itself in April or in May. And the Model Y, production lines are supposed to be fully revamped and back in full production in Q1.
Look, it's this easy to charge at home with an EV charging station. It just takes 5 seconds and it's easier than fueling up a gas car.
There's also, just the political fact that there's no really going back with Elon Musk. He really upset millions of potential and likely buyers, former buyers in Europe and in the US and Canada and elsewhere, Australia, elsewhere. And there's no going back from that. Now, if he's burning a second bridge to Trump fans, Trump lovers, whatever, that's an extreme risk. That's an extreme concern for Tesla going forward. Like, that was supposed to be the savior to the lost sales from Democrats and other left wingers. Like, this is objectively, like, if you looked at any other company, any other company, but especially in the car industry, which is so emotionally driven. You look at at a Ford, and they had gone and burned this bridge with Democrats, and then burned this bridge with Trump. Like, you would be looking at it and being like, oh wow, that company's going to be in big trouble. So, assuming that Tesla can overcome that, or that it doesn't matter, or it might be reversed in a day or two, or a week or two, or a month or two, I think it's ignoring, it's not being realistic. It's not looking objectively at the situation today and what is really happening with the Tesla brand. You also have, a report out of China we covered this week where BYD's, people's interest in buying a BYD or a Xiaomi EV have spiked, have gone up a lot, and at the same time, interest in buying a Tesla has slid down. Same with other automotive companies. And that just actually is reflected right there in the sales data of China. So it's like you can say, oh, that's just a survey, but it's actually like mirrors the sales data in China. So objectively, you have to look at it and say, it's not realistic to see Tesla as a massive growth company right now because it's not growing, it's shrinking in China, in Europe, and probably in the US. And, you know, I think people have to, I think the problem is people have invested so much money, and that's going to be a separate article, I guess. They've put so much money into this company, so they want to constantly justify that instead of selling and moving on. And I think this is just creating a more and more warped and unrealistic discussion and hype train around Tesla, and this kind of hopium or hope that just around the corner, Tesla robotaxis and robots are going to save the day, when there's not really any strong indication that's the case. And now even more so, burning bridges with the Trump administration, like all of the supposed benefits Tesla was supposed to get from Elon being buddy with Trump are going in reverse now. Just as people assumed, oh, Elon Musk and Trump working together means that there will be no regulations for Tesla robotaxis and they'll be able to roll them out mass market in the US. Now it could be reversed. They could be targeted because I don't think Trump has ever really shown that he really cares or gets behind the idea. He just sort of was like going along with it because Elon was contributing a lot and bring his fans to his party. But now that they're really quite severely attacking each other, I mean, we could very easily imagine Trump asking his agencies to investigate or shut down Elon Musk's operations, not just greenlight all of them. So I think we're at a really a point where people who have been trying to believe or assume or say that the Tesla story of 10 years ago is continuing today, we're at a point where people in that boat have to be step back a little bit and acknowledge or recognize that it's a very different story in 2025 from what it was in 2015 or 2020. And then you can see like how could that change. But at the moment, I have a very hard time seeing how anyone really genuinely thinks that Tesla is a growth story, unless you have like extreme hope for robotaxis using full self-driving, even while, and again, that's a different video, or mass market robots, even though that doesn't seem anywhere close to realization. And many people have said that Chinese companies are well ahead on that as well. So, or you believe that a mass market Tesla is going to come out and save the day, but yeah, no indication of that from what Elon Musk has really talked about. So I don't know. I don't want people to be pushed away who still have faith in like a really beautiful vision of an electric future and Tesla being a big part of that. Like, I still think Tesla can be a big part of that, but I think I just struggle with a lot of people who want to see any criticism as people just flipping from fan to hater, or as people just not seeing the truth, or as while sort of just not acknowledging what's been happening in the market and what's been happening as other companies have innovated faster and shot ahead. I don't know. I'm afraid too much of it is just because people have invested too much money in the company and they're just acting out of financial self-interest, and they're thinking out of financial self-interest instead of objectively, realistically looking at the situation and what's happening. But I'm going in circles now, so I'm going to leave it there for this news update and this kind of discussion, sort of like I just felt like this couldn't just be put into a text. I needed to talk about it, so that's what I've done today. Thank you.